Buckingham Palace didn't just stay silent about Archie and Lilibet. According to explosive reports, it was preparing to erase them from royal history completely. That is the accusation now exploding behind palace walls, and the deeper you go into this story, the darker it starts to feel. Because for years, the public thought this was just another celebrity family feud, another chapter in the endless war between Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the monarchy. But according to insiders and royal watchers, something much colder was unfolding underneath the silence. Not emotional, not impulsive, calculated, quiet, permanent. And the most chilling part? While the world was distracted by interviews, documentaries, and viral headlines, Buckingham Palace reportedly wasn't fighting back publicly because it already had another weapon prepared behind closed doors. A weapon built into the royal system itself.
Is the way that she's treating her children incredibly odd? Prisoners in a castle in Montesquieu.
That royalty sits down for an interview, thanks to Oprah Winfrey. Harry's constantly talking to CBS.
Sounds really disrespectful to say to a 70-year-old monarch. I thought he came of age. I thought he reinforced absolutely.
Why on earth would they want their daughter shackled to an institution that they appear to despise?
Patrick, allow me to...
Lilibet's royal title with this formal announcement. Princess Lilibet Diana was christened on Friday, March 3rd.
Her first child at 37, it was going to be born in hospital.
The certificate lists the private luxury Portland Hospital in West
California after an acrimonious rift with the royal family that saw them cut most ties to Buckingham Palace.
Compatible, unacceptable, and now they've walked away. A spokesperson for Buckingham Palace said that the Queen...
Over the weekend, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle briefly posted a video to social media showing the clearly visible if blurry faces of their children.
Americans, I think, might be under the impression that royalty sits down for an interview, thanks to Oprah Winfrey.
And he wants, desperately wants, I think, a reconciliation with his father. How
Lilibet Diana. Now, in the old days, in the Church of England, it had to be a proper name. I mean,
to them as Master Archie and Miss Lilibet, while their first cousins are listed as Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince...
But the baby's name, Lilibet Diana, pays direct tribute to two towering royal figures.
You know what she's now going to say to her hapless husband? Oh, H, they're already out there.
Right before such an important visit, because you and I have been stressing how the king is a mediator.
Just Harry, this is quite a direct question. I had it with my old man, bless his, God rest his soul.
Archbishop. And it's not clear from the communication whether she's been, they refer to her throughout.
For years, people mocked the palace for saying nothing, no dramatic rebuttals, no emergency press conferences, no public meltdowns. Harry and Meghan were everywhere, telling their side of the story in emotional interviews watched by millions across the globe. They controlled the headlines, they controlled the narrative, and the monarchy, silent, frozen, almost ghost-like. But now, critics are asking a terrifying question. What if the silence was never weakness at all? What if Buckingham Palace already knew exactly how this would end from the very beginning? Because according to reports, while cameras focused on California, royal officials were buried in documents. Old laws, ancient protocols, legal language so precise it allegedly left almost no room for emotion. Every word reviewed, every detail examined, and insiders claim that process has now reached its final stage. The paperwork reportedly finalized, the decision reportedly complete, and if the reports are true, the consequences fall directly onto two innocent children, Archie and Lilibet. Children who never chose this war but may now carry its consequences forever. That is where this story stops feeling like celebrity gossip and starts feeling disturbingly historical. Because the deeper you go, the more it becomes clear this was never just about Harry and Meghan personally. According to royal insiders, the institution saw something bigger at stake. Order, succession, legitimacy, control, the very architecture of the monarchy itself. And Buckingham Palace reportedly believed that if it bent the rules once, it could fracture the entire system permanently. Then, suddenly, another detail starts resurfacing. An old royal document from 1917. A document most ordinary people had never even heard about before this controversy exploded. And according to palace observers, that century-old rule book may have quietly determined everything.
So right now, she plays a sexy yet serious Rachel Zane on USA's hit legal drama Suits and one of my favorite shows.
The palace reportedly stayed silent because it didn't need to argue. It didn't need to defend itself emotionally suddenly because the institution believed the rules would eventually speak for themselves. And that changes the entire atmosphere around this story. Suddenly, the silence stops looking passive. It starts looking strategic, almost chillingly strategic, because according to insiders, Buckingham Palace allegedly watched every interview, every accusation, every documentary, every public attack, and simply waited. Not because it was powerless, because it believed time was on its side. And when people started digging into the origins of those rules, the story became even more unsettling. The monarchy's obsession with documentation and succession wasn't created yesterday. It was born during chaos, Europe collapsing, thrones falling, royal bloodlines disintegrating during the First World War, kings terrified that confusion over titles and legitimacy could destroy dynasties overnight.
Know it. And I've got to say, I think SNL's latest brutal roast of the Sussexes sums it up very well.
That fear reportedly pushed King George V into creating one of the most important legal frameworks in modern royal history, the Letters Patent of 1917. And according to royal historians, those rules became the backbone of royal identity for every generation that followed. Not suggestions, not traditions people casually bend. Institutional law, cold and inflexible. And this is where things allegedly became dangerous for Harry and Meghan's children. Because according to reports, the Letters Patent established 3 core requirements tied to royal status and recognition. First, verified royal descent. Second, official recognition and recording of birth by the crown itself. Third, formal recognition through the Church of England. 3 pillars. 3 conditions. And insiders claim Buckingham Palace believed cracks began appearing in those conditions almost immediately after Archie's birth.
Profoundly impactful decree was issued by Letters Patent on the 30th of November, 1917.
At first, Archie's arrival looked perfectly normal to the public. Cameras, celebration, smiles. A royal baby introduced to the world exactly the way everyone expected. But behind the scenes, another detail allegedly triggered confusion inside palace circles. The alteration to Archie's birth certificate. What looked tiny to outsiders reportedly became enormous inside royal administration. Meghan Markle's full legal name allegedly removed and replaced by royal styling language later on the document. To ordinary people, a paperwork adjustment. To royal traditionalists, potentially something far more sensitive, because royal documents are treated almost like historical artifacts. Permanent records, untouchable. And according to insiders, once changes appear on those records, questions begin multiplying very fast. Why was it altered? Who requested it? Why were different explanations reportedly given afterward? Meghan's side allegedly suggested palace influence. Palace insiders allegedly suggested the request came from Meghan herself. 2 completely different narratives. No final clarity. And in a monarchy built entirely on the authority of official records, uncertainty itself reportedly became the problem. Suddenly, palace watchers claimed the foundation already looked unstable before Lilibet was even born. And then came 2021, the birth of Lilibet Diana in California. This moment, according to insiders, allegedly pushed palace concern into an entirely different category because the world expected the familiar royal machinery, official palace announcements, institutional wording, formal confirmations connected directly to Buckingham Palace. Instead, what arrived was something deeply personal and entirely Californian. Harry and Meghan announced their daughter's birth themselves. Warm, emotional, human. But according to royal observers, one crucial thing was missing from that announcement: the crown itself. No palace seal, no institutional confirmation, no formal royal involvement. And suddenly, according to reports, Buckingham Palace allegedly viewed the situation through an extremely serious legal lens rather than an emotional one. Not where was the child born, but was the crown formally involved at all? And insiders claim the answer deeply alarmed palace officials. Then came another issue that reportedly escalated tensions even further: Lilibet's baptism. According to reports, Meghan spoke lovingly about the California ceremony. Intimate, beautiful, family-centered. But Buckingham Palace allegedly viewed it through an entirely different framework. Because inside royal structure, baptism isn't simply symbolic. It reportedly functions as institutional recognition tied directly to royal identity and the Church of England itself. And according to insiders familiar with royal procedures, Lilibet's baptism allegedly was never formally registered through the Church of England in the traditional royal framework. That detail sounds small until you understand how the monarchy allegedly interprets documentation. Inside royal systems, if something isn't formally recorded, it effectively does not exist institutionally. Meaningful emotionally? Yes. Recognized personally? Absolutely. But officially acknowledged inside the Crown's historical machinery? Reportedly not. And this is where palace observers claim panic allegedly began growing behind closed doors, because suddenly Buckingham Palace reportedly saw 2 children connected to multiple unresolved institutional gaps at the exact same time. Questions around official recognition, questions around documentation, questions around baptismal registration, questions about succession records themselves. And according to insiders, palace patience allegedly started running dangerously thin, while Harry remained completely convinced emotion and bloodline alone would eventually force the monarchy to bend. But according to reports, that is precisely where Harry may have misunderstood the institution most disastrously. According to palace insiders, this is where Prince Harry's private panic reportedly began colliding headfirst with the monarchy's cold machinery. Publicly, Harry kept projecting certainty. He spoke like a man who had permanently separated himself from royal life and built something stronger outside the palace walls. California, freedom, independence, a new future beyond monarchy. That was the image the world saw repeatedly. But reportedly, behind the scenes, another story was unfolding entirely. A quieter one, a desperate one. Sources claim Harry allegedly began making personal phone calls back into the institution he once walked away from. Not carefully staged legal negotiations, not polished media strategies, emotional calls, direct pleas. And according to those familiar with the conversations, those calls were no longer about Harry himself. They were about Archie and Lilibet. Reportedly, Harry began pushing aggressively for the children's official recognition within royal records. He allegedly argued that bloodline alone should guarantee their place inside royal history, regardless of where they lived or how their births had unfolded publicly. And emotionally, many people understand that argument instantly. They are the king's grandchildren, Harry's children. Windsor blood undeniably runs through them, but insiders claim Buckingham Palace never viewed this emotionally. That was the fatal disconnect. Harry reportedly approached the institution like a father fighting for his children. The palace allegedly responded like a system protecting itself from instability. And then came the line that reportedly changed everything for Harry psychologically. According to insiders, during one of those conversations, a palace official allegedly responded with a sentence so cold it stunned him into silence. This is not about emotion. This is about order. That one sentence explains the entire monarchy. Not love, not fairness, not sympathy. Order. And according to palace observers, that realization hit Harry like a collapsing wall because suddenly he understood something terrifying. Buckingham Palace reportedly was not punishing him emotionally. It wasn't reacting out of anger or revenge. In many ways, that made the situation even worse, because systems that act emotionally can sometimes be persuaded. Systems acting mechanically cannot. And according to insiders, the monarchy simply continued operating exactly the way it always had for centuries, unmoved by personal pain, public outrage, or emotional arguments. That realization allegedly forced Harry to confront the full consequence of leaving royal structure behind, not simply leaving palace duties, leaving the system itself. The institution that controls recognition, succession, documentation, titles, history. The monarchy's machinery allegedly kept moving without him while he stood outside trying to force the doors open again emotionally. That final point is the one that reportedly horrified royal watchers most deeply, because history is everything to the monarchy. Kings die, queens fade, scandals disappear, public opinion changes every decade, but historical records remain forever. They become the monarchy's memory long after every living participant is gone. And according to reports, Archie and Lilibet allegedly now stand outside that official structure completely. Harry allegedly believed emotional truth would eventually force the palace to bend. That fatherhood, bloodline, and public sympathy would outweigh ancient systems. But according to insiders, the monarchy only speaks one language: rules. And rules, unlike emotions, do not cry, apologize, or negotiate. Now, according to reports, 2 names that once seemed destined for royal history allegedly sit outside the official framework entirely. 2 absences where royal entries might have existed for generations to come. 2 silences inside a family obsessed with historical continuity. And Buckingham Palace, still silent. That silence now feels different, heavier, more deliberate. Because according to palace watchers, the absence itself became the message. No public war, no dramatic announcement, just quiet institutional finality finality delivered through paperwork and historical process. The absence is the punishment. The silence is the answer. And according to reports from inside palace circles, once the monarchy closes a door this completely, it almost never opens it again.